Hello and welcome. I've pressed record, so whoever is not able to be live with us today is able to catch up on the recording. Welcome, Emily. Welcome, Nicole. Hello, Lana. We'll see if anybody else will join. We have 21 people signed up for the call today, but we did have some people send apologies that they weren't able to join live. So we'll see how all of that will unfold. So the intention of today is, to just share a little bit about the Silent Birthkeeper 1 year immersion into True Midwifery. It begins on the 14th of November and will run for a full year. And we'll just go into the details today of exactly how it will run, and people sent through a whole bunch of questions and intentions. So we'll just try to address all of that today so that for those who are curious, they can have their questions answered and also just get a sense of how it all works and what our intentions are. So thank you, Emily, and thank you, Nicole, for being live here with us. And thank you to the people who sent in their apologies. And welcome to the circle. Welcome to Lana, who is my co-host and partner in all of this. I think what I'm just going to do is allow us to arrive. So something that is traditional in the True Midwifery space is the grandmother blessing. So it's a song, it's a prayer, it's a meditation, a visualization that comes to us from the Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. And they created this prayer as a way to open space, to bless spaces. And what I'll do is I will just copy and paste it into the chat box so you can get a sense of it. So it speaks to the grandmothers of the different directions. And we face the grandmother in the east, in the south, in the west, in the north, the grandmother of the earth, the grandmother of the sky, grandmother in my heart, the grandmother in my womb. And then we also speak to the fact that we can reach out and ask the grandmother to hold us. And when we speak about the grandmother, that is very personal to each one of us. On the one hand, what we can do is use this prayer, this meditation, as a way to tap into our own personal maternal line. So to honor where we come from, and to honor those who came before us, especially the women who came before us. Often when we look at our family histories, what gets mentioned is the wonderful things that our fathers and our grandfathers did, and often, the grandmothers go unmentioned, or there's very little mention of actually what they were doing. So it's a way to just really drop into your own body and to honor where you come from and the womb from which you came and the womb from which she came, and just really visualizing and imagining right to the beginning of time the grandmothers that came before you. The grandmothers also refer to the midwives and the birth attendants and the doulas and the gossips and the witches and the healers and the women who have since the beginning of time been holding space for birth. As we know, midwifery, birth attending, holding space for birth is one of the ancient original professions. And there are women who have been doing that, since the beginning of time. And so it's also an opportunity to honor that lineage, that path that we are walking or stepping onto or dancing on, or whatever it is that you're doing with this path. But to just really honor those who came before us. Hello, Nicole. Nice to see you. So I'm going to play this song for you now. And it's up to you how you want to engage with it. You can just listen to it in the same way as you would listen to any song. You can stand up and embody it if that's what you'd like to do. Some people stand up and face the different directions, and then some people just use it as a visualization, as a way to tune into themselves. So if you want, you can turn your camera off, or you can keep your camera on while I'm playing it. It's up to you. And and then once we've done that, we can begin.
And you are looking at I see you sitting in the sky. You are sacred, and you are looking at me. I pray to you, pray to you. You are sacred. Grandmother, I see you sitting in my heart. You are sacred, and you are looking at me. I pray to you, pray to you. You are sacred. Grandmother, I see you sitting in my womb. You are sacred, and you are looking at me. I pray to you, pray to you. You are sacred. Grandmother, I feel your arms around me. You are sacred, and you are holding me. I pray to you, pray to you. You are sacred. Pray to you, pray to you. You are sacred.
Thank you. So yeah, we use this song and other prayers and meditations, centerings to begin. Usually our sessions will usually do the grandmother blessing or some form of song or movement or meditation to arrive in our busy lives, and especially in these virtual spaces. I think that we can kind of feel a bit overwhelmed and overstimulated, and so it's a way to settle into the space and also settle into the circle. And yeah, it just gives us an opportunity to really feel that we're part of a community as well. So one of the things that we usually do as well is with the Silent Birthkeeper journey, is it's a closed group that travels together for 1 year. And yeah, and it's quite a slow process. It's a very deep process. It's quite an intimate process. And I'll go more into the details of exactly what it is that we do and cover during that time together. But that sense of being part of a community, a circle, a circle of grandmothers, a circle of elephants, really becomes very integrated into it for all of us. But yeah, before we begin with sharing more about the journey, it would be wonderful to just hear from each one of you who you are, your name, and where you are. And if you're in a different place to where you're originally from, you can also share that. And then we'd love to hear from you just one thing that you personally love about birth. And whoever would like to begin can begin, and then we can just each take a turn.
I'll begin. Hi, Nicole, Ruth, Lena. Nice to meet you. So my name is Emily. I grew up in France, gave birth in Cape Town. My husband is from Cape Town. I'm very friend with Zaya Khan. I saw her right now on your page. And I think 6 years ago, we moved to Amsterdam. And my birth was really, I gave birth with birth option. I don't know, Angela. It was like a calling, and from that moment, I knew I wanted to become a doula and support women, especially the one who don't have family and any support where they give birth. But it took me until today, I think, to really, I took classes, I have friends, I have a doula community, but I had to go through my own daring, no doubt process. So it was a very long journey, and I think, yeah, I don't know, I'm ready for it now. And for very long, I'm very in touch with the doula community here, but I have such a bond with South Africa. There is just probably because I gave birth there, became a mother there. We go back there often. I just connected with your content, with your approach, with your holistic view of it, maybe more sacred, less Western. And I'm just, yeah, so happy I could join finally and feel this, because there is so many programs all over, but you really need to find the one that resonates with you. And I, yeah, I'm excited about the year to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So wonderful to have you here, and so wonderful to have that connection with Cape Town. How special. Nicole, I'd love to hear from you.
Hi, ladies. So my name is Nicole. I'm currently in Durban in KwaZulu-Natal. So my dive into becoming a doula was very unexpected. I'm a chef by trade, and things started changing very rapidly over the last year. I had a little bit of a midlife crisis. And then, so my mother's a midwife in Johannesburg. She runs her own birthing center, and she said to me, well, why don't you try something like this, look into being a doula. And then I went to go work with her for a little while. I saw the amazing work that she was doing with her mothers. So yeah, it was quite unexpected, but it's been amazing. I've just certified, so yeah. Yes, Lana, it's Sister Jenny Clarence. Yeah, and I'm quite excited to find out about the Silent Birthkeeper. Yeah, I found it just by chance on Instagram, so I'm just curious.
Wonderful. Welcome. Thank you both so much for sharing a little bit about yourself. And interestingly enough, Nicole, I'm not a trained chef, but I was in catering for 10 years before I moved into birth and midwifery. So there's obviously, they're obviously aligned in one way or another. We could compare notes. So yeah, I'll thank you both so much. So I'm Ruth, and I created the Silent Birthkeeper journey, and True Midwifery is the home of a lot of these courses and workshops that we run online and in various places around the world as well. And really, if I was to just kind of describe what True Midwifery was for me, and kind of what I envision for it, is a safe space for birth attendants around the world to, I think in a similar way to kind of how we want to guard and protect the women and the families and the babies. I feel that the people who are holding space for that also require a safe space, and something that I've really seen and experienced in the birth world, sadly, amongst midwives, doctors, doulas, is that there's a big disparity. There's a lot of fractioning, there's a lot of infighting and backstabbing, and it's because it often feels unsafe in the world to be a birth attendant. And kind of instead of lifting each other up, we can sometimes be a bit like crabs in a bucket, pulling each other down. And so True Midwifery really is a space where anybody who is in some way connected to birth, and it's open to anyone and everyone who is interested. So we have people who are very, very new to the path, never attended a birth, haven't had children themselves, are kind of very bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and curious. And then we have people who have, been on this path for years and years and years and years, have a myriad of qualifications and everything in between. And so one of the beauties of the True Midwifery space is the diversity, not only in culture and where people come from, but also just in experience. And it's really a place where we pool resources and share and support each other, no matter where we work, and no matter where we kind of find ourselves attending births and supporting birth, and also no matter kind of what title we fall under or we feel we need to, what hat we need to be wearing when it comes to attending births. And yeah, the silent birthkeeper journey was born actually during COVID, during lockdown, when I couldn't, because I used to travel quite a lot to go and run retreats and workshops abroad. And at that time I couldn't travel. And so I received support from two of the organizations that I normally teach through in Europe and in the UK to film some of the material that I would normally do, in person. And at first I was very reticent and very, like the whole online thing didn't appeal to me. I was used to working with people, one-to-one and in groups. And but yeah, when you're stuck at home, as we all know now, we have to make different plans. And I'm very blessed that my neighbor and landlord is a filmmaker who's very enthusiastic about supporting projects like this. And so he and I spent a big chunk of lockdown making the material that is now the Silent Birthkeeper journey. And yeah, it grew into this 1-year course that is now available online. And we limit it to a small group of people, because it really is an opportunity to kind of step into what it means for you to attend birth. And it's a very unique journey for each person who is on it, but we're doing it together. And like I said, it's very diverse in terms of where people are from, the hat that they wear when they're attending births, in terms of qualifications or no qualifications. We have people who are, let me just see, I made a list here. We have mothers, we have people who are, are birthing, we have grandmothers, we have midwives, we have student midwives, doulas. And, some people come from a more formal background around their training, and others are more informal, have been self-taught. And what we do on the Silent Birthkeeper journey is we meet once a month. And at this time, so it's for this particular cycle that's about to begin in November, we meet on a Thursday morning between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. South African Standard Time. And that will obviously vary depending on where you are on the planet, but it's very similar. It's not that different for Europeans. It's more if you're like in the US or Australia that you need to really triple and double check if it's the middle of the night for you. And yeah, we take this year to explore this path of what it means to attend births for you. I kind of used my own journey to coming to birth as the backdrop for the journey. So there's a lot of storytelling involved, a lot of just sharing from my own personal experience of how I came to birth, my own personal history, and then how it evolved for me, and then kind of where I'm at now with it. And for me, it's also a continuing journey, and I'm very grateful for the True Midwifery space, but especially the Silent Birthkeeper space, because it's it's a safe space for me to also tap into being able to share safely. I think the Silent Birthkeeper journey is also, in many ways, it's kind of a gift back to myself. If I think about when I first started out kind of officially stepping into my midwifery education and my birth attendant and doula education, there were some things that I wish had been available and present. And I think part of the holding and the container and the safe community was part of what was missing. I really tried to make sure that that is a strong foundation in this training, in this course. The other piece is really around the foundation of self-care. How do we take care of ourselves and each other while doing this work, which is a very deep calling for many of us. I think that's why we're all here. You know, the reason we step into the space is that there's this heart's calling and this heart's longing to be a guardian or a protector of birth, and it might be for different reasons. But yeah, but it can also be very, very tiring and challenging. And so to have a safe space where we can share about that, but where we can also have the tools to take care of ourselves so that this work can be sustainable. Because birth, Lana often uses this example. Birth is a little bit like a lover who you fall passionately in love with, and who kind of like can take everything from you. And so it's also about how do you build a sustainable relationship with your work as a birth attendant and have balance in your life still while attending births. And then we do look at all the practicalities around what it means to be a birth attendant and in what capacity you can show up at birth. So for me, the backdrop has been my midwifery journey. For others, it will be being there in maybe a more medical capacity. For others, in a less medical capacity. And so we look at that and we discuss all of that. So yeah, we look at pregnancy care. We look at attending births. We look at what might crop up in pregnancies, what might crop up in birth situations, and looking at the whole postpartum period as well and taking care of mothers and babies there. And then we also look at the difficult side of birth as well. So we do look at things like death and disability and holding space for that, for ourselves as well as for those that we're taking care of, and also sexual abuse triggers, which unfortunately is just very much a reality when it comes to holding space for birth as well. Yeah, so I think that's kind of summarizing what it is that we cover over that time. I'm going to hand over to Lana to share a little bit, and she can also share a bit about herself, and then we can jump into the questions that people have asked. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Ruth. Hi, everyone. So nice to have a strong South African contingent today. So I'm in Cape Town. I was born here at home, and I've birthed my daughters at home in Cape Town. And I started out in working in public health, and then became a doula after the birth of my first daughter. And then I met Ruth when she was having her last. We were both having our last. She was 2 weeks postpartum. I had just done a pregnancy test the day that we met at a meeting on direct entry midwifery, how to potentially bring it to South Africa. And so, we were part of a group that piloted direct entry midwifery to South Africa. And listening to her speak now, just the True Midwifery silent birthkeeper journey is very much looking at how our wanting to engage with birth in terms of being an attendant at birth and not having something that we could access that, for example, with formal training where you would be learning topics that you would never engage with, like orthopedics, or it really felt like we wanted to funnel our energy into serving mothers and babies directly, and also just in and out of hospital setting was very much within our background. We used to run the home birth gatherings here in Cape Town once a quarter, and started up the home birth South Africa website because there just wasn't South African based information for home birth here. Everything was very international. And I've done one cycle of the Silent Birthkeeper journey, one that ended the beginning of March this year from the previous year. And it is exceptionally intimate and very deep. And it's interesting, there are many other projects that Ruth hold as well, like there are once monthly study spirals where people can drop in and out. There are the birth first aid courses, and so some of the people who've done the Silent Birthkeeper course, they attend some of these other projects, and it really feels like you're traveling with a sisterhood, and building just such a unique relationship with the people on the course with you. I mean, some of them were, had just gotten pregnant, and by the time we were finished, they had little babes in their arms, and others have sort of gone through difficult relationships and health issues, and it really has been very unique in anything else that I've done, in terms of the connections that you make with the people doing it with you. Each of us maybe come to birth in very different ways and show up to birth in very different ways, but it's been so rewarding to feel like there's been this end goal to be the guardians of something really sacred, seeing birth as a resource to protect, much like our oceans and the planet that we live on. The way that we have allowed birth to be abused and women's bodies to be manipulated and drugged and coerced and sort of be the vessels of obstetric violence just is not okay. Like, what are we doing to our humanity when we treat women this way? So it really is first and foremost, as much as it's becoming or realizing who are you in terms of how you show up for birth, regardless of what how you come to it as. It is deepening that relationship with yourself first and foremost, as you discover what your boundaries are for birth, what your capabilities are. You might be at a time or season in your life where you really have this passion for it, you want to do it, but you have little kids, or you have ailing older parents that you need to care for. But the beauty with birth is that you can sort of, it's quite unique in that way. Like there's always a season for birth, and it's so interesting going through this journey with people in different global hemispheres and sort of seeing, half of us come with our thick winter woolies and the others are their string spaghetti tops, and it's a reminder that that there's this relationship from across the globe, that we're all doing this incredible work together. One of the things that you do get to do on the Silent Birthkeeper journey is a project that is completely up to you, either your relationship to birth, and that for me has been like the most incredible thing to see what people have come up with. So they have the whole year to work on it, and then our last session together is when you sort of do your presentation on your project. I have been blown away by people's ingenuity and their vision. and really just their own personal development through this process. Yeah, so I mean, there are times when it's quite hard. You know, I mean, it's great in that the course content is on a platform that you can access and come and go and pick up. You know, you don't have to have finished section 1 to be able to move on to section 2, although, or rather, shall I say, each month we focus on a particular module, and for the time that module remains open, you can go into it as many times as you wish and really engage with the content in the way that feels right for you. Yeah, I don't want to go into too much about like the more technical questions that people have asked, because we'll go through the questions list, but yeah, that's just sort of been my role in it is to support Ruth and also just support the people on the journey with us. There's a very deep sense of responsibility to each person that signs up, in knowing that they can reach out to either one of us if they're struggling with any of the content, or just want or needing just a bit more holding through this process, because that's if I look at midwives, doctors, people who attend births in many spaces, it's such a lonely path, especially if you're doing something differently. Yeah, finding your tribe is such a difficult thing. But yeah, this journey just sort of sets it up in a way that we start together. There's a tentativeness, but after the first session, which really just focuses on the introductions, there's an incredible excitement and anticipation that comes with it, knowing that these are you meet the most amazing people on it. Okay, so let me finish my waffle. Yeah, and we'll jump into questions.
Thank you so much, Lana. Yeah, let's jump into the questions that people have submitted, and then if the two of you have more questions after that, you're welcome to bring them, and we'll try and also just fill in any gaps we feel are there. But just in terms of how it works is the course actually kind of takes place on 3 different platforms. So as Lana said, we have a platform where all the course material is held, and that's on Teachable. So a lot of people have Teachable accounts anyway already. What happens is that once a month a new module is released, and that is the theme then of the call that we have that month. It'll begin with introductions and orientations, and then move into the next theme and the next and the next. And you'll see that initially it kind of seems like more non-midwifery related stuff, and it's a little bit that kind of taps into what I was talking about earlier, like when I first stepped into this path officially, my more formal education, there were certain things that for me were missing, and so I've really tried to make sure that those foundations are there for those who are coming onto the path, and even for those who've been on the path for a long time. I think a lot of people who have been in midwifery school or been doulas for a very long time, as Lana said, they'll speak about the loneliness of it, or the burnout, or losing their passion, and all of that kind of thing. So the sustainability piece, the self-care piece, the community piece is all there. So really kind of making sure that foundation is there before we delve into the more official birth education stuff. It unfolds on Teachable. New module opens every month, and we do usually take a break in August as well. But we do take a break in August just because in the Northern Hemisphere as well, that's usually when a lot of people are on holiday. But it just also gives us a bit of breathing space after meeting monthly and going through this material. Some people get panicky because they feel that they've fallen behind. So that gives them a chance to kind of catch up. it gives them a chance to work on their project. So yeah, the project, as Lana said, is anything that you want to create and present at the end of our year together that is inspired by the Silent Birthkeeper journey. And it really can be anything. And the beauty of it is to just see what people bring. You know, different people come from different places. So, you know, some people will bring a dance or a song or a poem or, you know, like begin a community project where they live, or start a support group of some sort. So it's been really diverse, and it's been really inspiring, and it's been really wonderful to see that, you know, like that there's a ripple effect from the Silent Birthkeeper journey that kind of goes out into the world when we complete the cycle. And I'll also just share with you the PDF of the program. I'm putting it into the chat box. You can look over what the different topics are. And then we always have a private Telegram group as well. That is a space where we can continue the conversations in the month while we're not together. So while you're working through the material, you can comment on the Teachable platform, but we just haven't found it to be like the most engaging place to have conversations. So the Telegram group is really lovely because, you know, you might be reading something there and then have some questions around it, bring it into the Telegram group, and then, you know, Lana or I might answer those questions, but there might be other people in the group as well who have insight and experience around it. It's also a place where people will often, if they are attending births, they'll come and they'll share about their birthing experiences. And so we all get to learn from their work as birth attendants. And yeah, our once a month meetings take place on Zoom, like we're meeting now. And those sessions are 3 hours once a month. And, you know, we'll usually just be exploring that particular theme and topic for that module, and then come back the next month and then explore the next theme. So that's just kind of the practicalities of how it works. Lana, do you want to answer a next question? Lana, you're muted.
Oh gosh. Yeah, the question is, do we have homework? Is there a project to deliver or a certificate? So yes. Look, the content is at your own pace. You know, nobody's going to chase after you if you haven't completed a module. It really, this is just completely self-directed in that regard. The project, as was mentioned, yeah, can be anything, and generally most people, I think, start to tackle it sort of, I would say, the last third of the year or third of the time together. And you know, if it's something that you're working on, it doesn't matter that it's incomplete. It's just the concept that we, you know, that's what we're interested in you sharing. And then yes, you do get a certificate of participation. So the Silent Birthkeeper journey is not a formal midwifery or doula or birth attendant qualification, if that makes sense. Because each country will have varying and different regulations in terms of who can call themselves a midwife or a doula, and what those requirements are. I would say that this course is more, it really is first looking at the foundation of who am I when I attend birth, even with my qualification as a doctor, a midwife, a doula, a mother, a friend. Yeah, so it's not a formal recognition in that regard. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what Lana was saying about kind of our expectation around it. I come from a Montessori background, which is very much around freedom of choice, freedom of movement, and that feeds into how I am a space holder for birth as well. It's really, for me, it's more about creating a safe environment for the mother to find her way and birth her baby and discover her mothering journey. And I feel very similar with those who are attending births. I don't want to dictate what is the right way for you to be a birth attendant and for you to have a relationship with birth, but to give you a space and information where you can explore and where you can just, I feel like the course is a little bit like a library. It's a space that you can be in for a year with another group of people. So your education will come from the environment, from the environment that I've created, but also from the community that you'll be part of. And yeah, it's interesting because some people go through the silent birthkeeper journey and decide this is not for me, which is okay. Like it's really beautiful that they've had a safe space to explore that and to realize that and actually be untraumatized, because a lot of midwifery and birth training can be traumatic. Some people go on to more formally study midwifery. Some people decide, to become independent birth attendants or traditional birth attendants. Some people go on to become doulas. Some people decide it's not the right time for me right now, but I'd like to step into it later. And so, it's really a space for you to explore and kind of try on the different outfits and then see how you want to step out into the world with it. So there are some questions around like teaching practical skills like response to shoulder dystocia, baby's first breaths, baby positioning, and all of that. So we do look at the practical skills that are associated with midwifery and pregnancy care and attending births and taking care of mothers and babies. The more like emergency type stuff, we have created a separate course called the Birth First Aid course. The next one will run in February. So we run that one twice a year, and it's a much more short course, and it works very well alongside the silent birthkeeper. And we do touch on those topics in the silent birthkeeper, but we don't go into it in depth. But the other skills pertaining to birth and pregnancy care, we do look at. And then, we have discussions around, is there such a thing as optimal baby positioning? Who are we to dictate what position a baby should be in before they're born? And why might a baby choose not to be in what we call an optimal position? And yes, we look at potentially how we can support a baby. So, like I said earlier, there's a spectrum of information that we offer around all of that.
The question is, what day of the week does the session take place and the time schedule? So this next cycle that begins will start the second Thursday of November and carry on the second Thursday of each subsequent month, with the exception of August, as Ruth mentioned, so that we end off in November of next year, 2025. The live sessions, the Zoom sessions are 3 hours long, starting from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. South African Standard Time. But yeah, once you've signed up, your access to the Teachable platform is active for the duration of your subscription to it. Ruth can maybe just share what there's a little bit of a grace period after the November, the last November session, for you to be able to access the information on Teachable.
Yes. Yeah, so the course actually started off as a 9-month course, and then it became a 12-month course, and now it's actually a 13-month course. But it's 12 months in the sense that it's 12 months that we meet, but then we leave the the environment open, the teachable environment open for you, and the Telegram group for another month, so that, you know, if there's the last little bit of something that you didn't get around to doing, or, you know, you just want to take a last little sniff around, you are you're welcome to do that. For some of us, closing the doors is harder than others, and it's quite nice that it's actually 13 months, because that feels very much aligned with, you know, the pregnancy journey anyway. And yeah, and then one of the questions that somebody was asking is, what is the difference between a birth keeper and a midwife? And this is, you know, these are the kind of conversations and discussions we have in the space, because yeah, it just feels, you know, I think nowadays the term midwife is, for a lot of people, especially in the Western world, we have this more medicalized view of what a midwife is, in terms of the training, and as well as the legalities around the term midwife. But then if we look at kind of like the ancient root of the word midwife, and especially, and looking at you know, like the French word for midwife, or the Czech word, or, you know, if we look at all the different languages around the world, the word for midwife, the root word for midwife, or the etymology of midwifery, is often something like with woman, or wise woman, or grandmother, or earth mother. And so I think a lot of us are called to the path of being midwives, or doulas, or birth attendants, or birth keepers, because we resonate with the true meaning of what that word means. So for me, for example, you know, I have a piece of paper that says I am a midwife in America, but in my own country, I'm not legally allowed to call myself that. In South Africa, I fall under the title of traditional birth attendant. That's legally what I'm allowed to call myself, and how I'm able to practice. But I do identify as a midwife, because for me, the word midwife means with woman, and that is really what I feel very strongly is my path, is why I do this work. The term birthkeeper was coined by a beautiful traditional midwife in the States called Janine Parvati Baker, who sadly is no longer with us. And I think she had some Indigenous American heritage herself. And, you know, within that tradition, you have dream keepers, and ocean keepers, and tree keepers, and people who are guardians of the different elements. And she felt very strongly that we also needed people to be keepers of birth. And so the term birth keeper really is tied into what Lana was speaking about earlier, around us really embodying and practicing what it means to be the guardians of birth on this planet. But just like midwifery, the term birth keeper has also been co-opted. You know, there are people who now have a very clear definition of what it should be and means, and the same with doula, and same with traditional birth attendant, and the same with this and that. And, you know, it's just interesting how we always find a way to kind of divide ourselves, whereas actually we're all really wanting to do the same thing for mothers and babies and families. And sometimes we just have to wear a particular badge or wear a particular hat in order to be able to achieve that. And so for me, there's, you know, in its essence, there's no difference between a birth keeper and a midwife, but sometimes on paper there is. And so, you know, that's the best way that I can answer that question at this time. It'd be interesting, Lana, if you have actually any input on that. No.
No, I think, yeah, there was I feel about titles, yeah. You know, I mean,
but you know what's interesting is that I do a lot of work with traditional midwives from Zimbabwe, and I remember asking them the question around, like asking them this question, like, what do you call yourself? And they just looked at me like I was mad, because they went, I'm a midwife, you know, like obviously. So that was really that was very affirming in terms of, you know, this path actually.
well, it's like, you know, calling yourself a mother, but actually you're a chef, you're a psychologist, you're a nurse, you're a chauffeur, you are, you know, yeah, it's just a title. Yeah, another question was, I'm hoping it's acceptable for me to attend as a woman who has not yet given birth, but I am part of the bodywork healing community. Absolutely. I think Ruth also just mentioned this, about being birth keepers is about being the guardian of something that needs care and protection. And we shouldn't wait until we become mothers to start looking at birth and how we want to be mothers, how we, view what our view on parenting and child rearing is. If, I think we're just so fractured in terms of we don't live with extended families. We don't see breastfeeding anymore. Now it's like this taboo thing. Like, I mean, I grew up, there were boobs floating around, everybody nursed everybody else's baby. Like, that's what you do. And we live in an age now where poor women need, fancy feeding covers and are, very likely to be shamed for breastfeeding, for feeding their child in public. And so, to have people who have not yet journeyed on this path, who to be able for them to find a resonance, like something is calling to them, and as much as I am a very fierce advocate for supporting mothers, the decision to become a mother is such a big thing. And when someone is saying they're not, they don't want to be a mother, they don't want children, I will protect that right to, as much. But there are so many gifts that we can bring, without having gone through birth. Yeah, the skills and it often is just an inexplicable calling within. Sometimes you can't pinpoint it, and sometimes it takes these sorts of journeys for it to spark or become clearer what it is that where you're heading into. And as Ruth said, sometimes you go into this and you realize, actually, I don't need to be the one attending the birth, but I feel my calling is to support those that attend birth. And that's where my passion lies, or, being more postpartum support. So, yeah, this just is very much a journey of self-exploration again.
Thank you, Lana. I think that's in terms, I think we've actually covered everything from the questions that were submitted. Have I missed anything there?
No, I mean, they're very similar questions. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. We've kind of answered from that. So yeah, Amelie and Nicole, if you have anything that you feel we've missed or that you'd like to know more about, please bring it and we can answer.
I have two questions. So we have almost like a chapter to cover per month. Do you have any idea? Is it 5 hours of content, or is it just 2 hours? How would you try to keep or save time in the months to study or to go through that?
That's a very good question, and different people have approached it in different ways. So a lot of the stuff you can just, a lot of the I can't remember how many hours of video content there is, so I would have to double check that. So there is some video and some audio content, but you can, with most of it, treat it like a podcast. So it's the kind of thing that you can be kind of pottering around and listening to while you're cooking dinner or driving or whatever. So there is that aspect to it. Then there's a whole lot of written material, and which is support material for the videos. So I would say the videos and with the accompanying audio, so you can listen to it or watch it in either way, are kind of the primary content, and then there's support material that goes along with that. So all in all, I think it's about, I remember correctly, it's about 30 hours of actual video content over the whole period. But then the support material is for you to delve into as you wish. Yeah. So some people have, kind of put a morning aside per week or a morning aside per month, depending on, we have very busy midwives as well that, kind of have to fit it in whenever they can. So it really differs. Yeah.
And I have one technical question. I chose to pay in 10 months. I think it's do I receive a reminder for the next payment, or how does it work?
I think so. I think that is what happens with Teachable. I mean, I think what happens is that you would usually put in a card or PayPal, depending on what the method was that you decided to pay. And so if that, for whatever reason, that payment doesn't work, they will send you a reminder to update that payment method. Yeah. But as far as I know, they do send out a reminder as well. I've never been, I mean, I don't get billed. I get billed by them as a host, not as a participant. So I'm not 100% sure of that technicality. But you don't just get booted off the course if for whatever reason there's an issue with your payment, just so you know. They try they'll send you a reminder, I think 4 or 5 times before they do something about it more serious.
And then we do send out, before the course starts, we'll send out like a reminder email the week before, and then you'll get a reminder email the day before and an hour before. Just to sort of help get you in the rhythm. And much like the Zoom call today is being recorded, if for whatever reason you can't make it, then you can always catch up with the recording. We normally email a link that's open for a week, and then within that week we try and upload it to Teachable. So all the recorded Zoom sessions will be there for you to view as well.
Yeah, I think that is. Let me just double check the page with all the information on it. But yeah, I mean, let me just share the link to all the course information. So I've shared the PDF. Here is the page with all the information from the course and pricing plans and all of that. So the early bird does close on the 30th of September, so there's going to be a price jump after that. There are payment plans available, and we do always try to do our best to accommodate people around payment plans and all of that. So we do encourage people to reach out around that side of things. Because we don't want to make it a closed space. We want it to be an open space. And it really is open to anybody who is interested. There's the list of everything that we'll be covering. There's you'll get an idea of the curriculum that's covered, and the various offerings that are available. So hopefully that will support you in your decision making.
And we'll send those things that we've shared now in the chat on the email that'll go out with this recording link if you weren't able to save it.
Yeah. So thank you for coming, Amelie and Nicole, live, and I'm really looking forward to this next cycle. So this will be the 4th one in English, and then we have also done them in French, although we're on pause with doing them this year for the French audience. So it's really beautiful to see it continuing to just cycle around. Some people cycle around again. So what's been really beautiful is having people come back. And so we also have experienced silent birth keepers who come back and kind of help to hold the space and are there. It really feels like they're coming back as elders, as grandmothers, and helping to hold the space. And it's just always interesting to see. Like, it always feels like you know, there's kind of like we wait and we see who actually ends up constellating in the group, and then on the day we begin, you know, that's then the group that is set for that particular journey, and yeah, and then the journey begins. And it's so interesting because on the one hand it feels like, oh, a whole year, like how am I going to manage to commit to a full year? And then before you know it, it's over and you're like, oh, how am I not going to do this again, you know? So it's yeah, it's very, very special, and we laugh and we cry and we share, and it's very intimate. And I think what's very special is that what I see is that the people who have been in these communities together are still leaning on each other a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, when it comes to supporting each other around birth. Because, you know, as Lana was saying, for some people it's like they're the only person attending home births, you know, where they live. And so to have a community that they can call on and lean into and share with is gold. And obviously it's gold for us to also have these women, you know, who are working in this way, sharing with us. So yeah, I see Julia has just joined us as we're closing.
It's probably got, yeah,
welcome.
someone else.
Welcome. We're actually just closing the circle. We've just done the whole session. Maybe there was a time discrepancy, but lovely to see you. Yeah, we'll be sending out the recording of this call, and yeah, if you have any follow-up questions, please send them our way. And yeah, thank you. Anything you want to say, Lana?
Yeah, well, I just saying, Julia, not to put you on the spot, but yeah, if there's any questions that if you have time now, if that's allowed, Ruth. Otherwise, yeah, just thanks for making time to be with us today. And yeah, just reach out via truemidwife@gmail.com if you have any questions about the course or
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Blessings, and yeah, see you soon, hopefully.
Soon.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.